Alright, what the heck is going on, my dudes? We're back here today with the next champion entering MCOC. We got Northstar. Now, this is a very interesting champion, man. Right off the bat, I'm going to say this. If you aren't a fan of playing Quicksilver because of his animations, you're probably not going to love this dude. However, as always, I do recommend you go into this champion with an open mind, give him a shot. You may end up liking him more than Quicksilver if you didn't like that guy, alright? So, he's got a lot of words in his kit, and as always, we're going to break down everything that you need to know and make it nice, easy, and breezy for you, okay? So first things first, let's look at his Sig ability. Does he need it? Not really. Is it nice to have? Sure. So, whenever Northstar would gain momentum, and we'll get into that, he gains a physical resistance passive for 6 seconds, and the duration is increased per momentum, okay? Now, when that physical resistance is active, he gains a reinforced passive. This makes it so the opponent's hits cannot be critical, so no critical hits against him when the reinforce is active, and also incoming hits have up to 60% reduced block penetration. This is pretty much like for Bullseye, right? So his hits can't crit, the block penetration on the special 1 is reduced. He's not my favorite for Bullseye in general, but that is there, you know, for Bullseye, which is nice. All right, so we'll get into that in a second. We'll start with this. Light attacks have a 30 to 10% chance to grant a reverb charge. Don't worry about the math there. All you have to worry about is you want to do light attacks to grant your reverb passive charges to start out, alright? Do your light attacks. Your medium hits cause the cooldown for your speed burst to briefly expire faster. Don't worry about that either, okay? Seriously. Worry about using light attacks. Against skill champions, the first hit of your second medium is going to inflict or refresh an armor break debuff, okay? This lowers his armor rating by a little bit, but the important thing here is that the opponent's critical resistance is lowered by 80%. Okay, so that's really good for like Killmonger, Korg, those champions with the critical resistance who are really annoying and you never crit. You reduce that down by 80%. That's really, really nice to have, okay? Now, let's talk about this speed burst here, all right? It starts on cooldown for 24 seconds, so after 24 seconds it activates, okay? Medium attacks cause the cooldown to expire a little bit faster, all right? And when the cooldown does expire and you're ready to activate it, using a special attack after a medium dash or when punishing a heavier special, it activates speed burst for 12 seconds, then it goes on cooldown again. While speed burst is active, your special attacks will cost 25% less power, okay? It's also paused during a dash, medium striker, or either champion special attacks, which is definitely nice. And as a defender, speed burst activates immediately when that 24-second cooldown is over, okay? Now, momentum, we talked about this before. Activating a special attack grants 1 momentum per level of the special used. Also, when a skill opponent evades, you gain 1 momentum, okay? Now, the cooldown for speed burst is reduced by 2 seconds per momentum, and as an attacker, only on attack, with at least 2 momentum, you become passively unstoppable while performing a dash. With 6, the first or second hit of a special attack, if it hits the opponent's block, it becomes passively unblockable, and for 10 momentum, the final hit of the special attacks inflict a stun passive for 1.5 seconds, okay? So, obviously, he's a bit of a ramp-up champion, right? You want to get those 10 momentum, okay? Now, when you use a special attack, you gain a prowess buff per momentum for 10 seconds. So if you have 10 momentum, you gain 10 prowess. These max out at 40 stacks. All special attacks have a 4% chance per momentum to grant an additional prowess, okay? So you really do want as many momentum as possible so you could ramp up to 40, okay? All special attack hits gain increased critical rating during speed burst too, so you want to make sure speed burst is always active when using specials, okay? Now, the special one. On activation, you inflict a slow passive for 10 seconds. Each hit has a 15% chance to pause personal prowess and reverb effects for 2 seconds. These pauses stack and expire 1 at a time. Also, if the hit was critical, you have a 100% chance to gain an additional pause, okay? Now, the reverb charges. Special 2. Each hit converts 1 reverb charge into an 8% reverb passive for 14 seconds. These max out for 35 stacks. Now, the reverb charges is what you gain from your light attacks, okay? So you want to use your light attacks up until like 2.9 bars of power, activate speed burst, use the special 2, all right? Convert all the reverb things into reverb passives, all right? Now, if the hit on the special 2 is critical, you gain 2 reverb passives instead. And if speed burst was active, converting a reverb charge has a 20% chance to grant an additional reverb. So again, lots of words. All you have to worry about is activate Speed Burst, use your special 2, and then let the rest happen. If it crits, it crits, alright? If it crits, it crits, and you 20% chance to get another one. If it happens, it happens. Don't stress it. Don't stress it, alright? Lots of words. The special 3, you gain 8 reverb charges like this, and also for the rest of the fight, your chance to trigger your prowess, reverb, and pause effects is increased by 110%, and that stacks up to 2 times, okay? So, lots of words, right? Lots of words. Let's not worry about them too much. We're going to start jumping into some gameplay today. Then we're going to talk about how is best to use him, where to use him, stuff like that. All right, let's take a peek here. This is a small Winter Soldier demo, about 230,000 health, kind of like a skill type 6-star rank 5 health pool in Battlegrounds, right? Okay, so as you're going to see here, one gripe that I have with him is that since his combos are speedster-like, like Quicksilver, this is a very similar gripe I have with Quicksilver, by the way. It kind of feels like you're building your power in slow motion, right? Because you have multiple hits in your combo meter, or your basic attacks, and that's going to give you the same amount of power as like a normal light attack, right? But it kind of feels like it takes longer, all right? Now, we're gonna bait out a special attack from Winter Soldier here, and we're gonna go in, we're gonna dash with a medium, activate Speed Burst, and use our special 2. Now, right away, our first special 2 is not going to be doing too much damage, but as you can see, as we build more momentum, we're going to go ahead and gain more prowess, gain our pause effects, and yeah, we start to do some damage there. That was about 55 seconds for 220,000 health in a completely vanilla matchup. But now we have 700,000 health here. We're going to skip forward here to the first special 2, okay? And now we're going to watch how his damage ramps up as the fight goes on, because that's what he's meant for. He's meant for those longer fights, okay? So as you can see, the reverb, it kind of acts like a trauma effect, all right? So it's going to be doing additional red damage based on your basic attacks and your special attack hits, which is definitely nice. And as you can see, once they ramp up, you keep doing more damage because the prowess makes your specials hit harder. The reverb is going to be there to help out with that, and that just keeps going up until 40 prowess. Now you could go for another special 2 to increase your reverb, and the special 2 does a lot of damage as well on its own, but as you can see right here, right, the damage keeps scaling and scaling and scaling. And I'm going to show you the rotation from the deep dive in just a moment, and you can see against the Necropolis Hit Monkey how high the damage really can scale, okay? But let's talk about a little bit about like where his best matchups are going to be. So for example, skill evaders, right? Why skill evaders? Because you can kind of skip his entire ramp up here by look. Every time a skill champion evades, you're going to gain a momentum charge. So if you can gain 10 momentum charges like that, dude, you're going to be ramping up so much faster as opposed to using 10 bars of power, right? That just takes a while. Also, Killmonger. I don't think this guy is going to be the best champion for Battlegrounds, but for Killmonger specifically, look at all those crits because you reduce critical resistance by 80%. Oh my goodness gracious, right? I think he's definitely going to be good for Killmonger. Also, he has a slow debuff on his special 1 here, right? That's going to be good for like, you know, Kingpin special 2, Mole Man, slow, stuff like that, right? So he definitely has some utility when it comes to countering the skill class. But at the end of the day, it's kind of, he's in an interesting box for me, right? Because listen, just for me, it kind of feels like his place in the game is a little iffy for me at the moment because I don't know where I want to use him yet. Because in Battlegrounds, it feels like the health pools are a little bit too... No, the health pools are fine. It's just that he takes a second to get going, right? And you don't want 60 seconds to ramp in Battlegrounds before you start doing damage, right? Now for Alliance War, I can definitely see him having a place in Alliance War and for questing as well, you know? But where I think Northstar is going to do really well is sometime in the future, I think there's going to be like, you know, Eternity of Pain objectives, or sorry, I always go Eternity of Pain, but what, we're in Spring of Sorrow right now, it's gonna be like Summer of something, Summer of... I don't even know, man. Summer of Stocks. But yeah, I feel like for that type of content is where he's going to be good for. Like, let's look at his tags, all right? He's got offensive raw damage, defensive tank, hero, flying, alpha flight, X-Men, right? Size medium. He's got a lot of tags, and when we're using tags for objectives, there's a lot of stuff he can do, especially in those fights that are like a million HP. He needs some time to ramp. That's where I think he's going to excel. In the next Everest content, the next Necropolis, I can see Northstar doing very well. There are fights in Necropolis that he does well. Hitmonkey, he's an absolute monster for, you know? So that kind of stuff. But let's take a look at him against some meta defenders in the deep dive rotation. To begin, strike the opponent with your light attacks to start building up your reverb charges. While ramping, you could complete light ending combos to stack on as many as possible. Build to under your special 3. Then, dash in and cancel your medium into a special to trigger speed burst, gain prowess, and convert your reverb charges into reverb passives. Since your specials will cost less power, you could follow it up immediately with your special 1 to inflict slow, pause your effects, and of course, burst the opponent down. From here, continue using your special 1s until speed burst expires or the opponent is knocked out. Now, keep in mind, against skill champions, performing a second medium attack will inflict an armor break debuff that will lower the opponent's critical resistance by 80%. And the more specials that you use, the more prowess you'll gain. Speaking of, in a longer fight, you could use your special 3 to increase the chance of triggering prowess, reverb, and pause effects by 110%. Plus, you'll be able to easily max out your momentum, leading to more prowess, bigger specials, and mind-blowing bursts of reverb damage. And at 10 momentum, your special attacks will leave the opponent passively stunned, making it easier to chain specials and close out those fights with big crits and monstrous red damage. So yeah, man, that's Northstar. He's an interesting champion to play. I think he's gonna have his fans because, like, oh my god, that damage once he's fully ramped, it's absolutely insane. But he's kind of like Proxima to me, where I love Proxima, but she needs some time to ramp, and her damage is absolutely mind-blowing insane, but I don't get to use her too often just because she needs the time to ramp, you know what I mean? And ramping up isn't always super duper viable. However, there are times when Proxima comes in handy, and I think there will be times when Northstar comes in handy, and I'm excited to see where those times go. I'm also excited to see what people do with this guy, you know? I feel like there's a lot of potential for like gauntlet solos and old act bosses that he can like smash through and stuff like that, because when you do have the opportunity to ramp, his damage is absolutely insane. I mean, go watch that Hitmonkey clip. It's absolutely mind-blowing. That was a 2 million HP special 2, I think, or right into the special 1 it was 2 million. Absolutely nuts. Absolutely bonkers. All right, that's it for this one. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, drop your boy a big ol' like and let me know what you think about Northstar in the comment section below. I'll be seeing you around, man.